It's been a year since I decided to jump into the world of virtual reality and pick up a Meta Quest 3S, but things haven't exactly panned out the way I expected. There was a lot of excitement around VR at the time, but it's all boiled down to a bit of a simmer as of late. There is a lot I'm personally excited about within this specific space in gaming, but I just wanted to have a look back at my first year with the headset within this ecosystem and give a year in review of sorts, whilst also touching on the constant doom and gloom around VR, especially the fear-mongering of it being dead apparently. But first, let's go back to the beginning. Hot on the heels of Batman Arkham Shadow, the VR gaming space was looking good and the entry price was at its lowest yet. I impulse bought the 3S and was extremely excited mainly to get my hands on the latest Arkham game, which was exclusive to this specific line of headsets. I had been hearing great things about the game, but also VR in general always seemed like a really cool and intriguing thing. This was simply my gateway into the larger VR world and things got off to a great start. Arkham Shadow was my game of the year and I couldn't have had a better introduction to the medium, but also I was using my headset for everything else. This was the future of media consumption to me. So I was watching movies in VR, surfing the web, enjoying some good content, you know, but eventually all that other stuff lost its appeal. Watching a movie or consuming any kind of content like that in VR is almost always going to be extremely situational for me. I realized anything not made with VR in mind is probably best enjoyed outside of VR. Because of this, I pretty much only use my headset to play games these days, which is, I think, reflective of what most people probably do. Not long after I joined the VR world, I made a pretty rough video channeling my excitement and enthusiasm for it all, but even then I expressed an annoyance at how fractured this already niche division of gaming was. The idea of PC VR and Meta Quests, the Steam exclusive VR titles that never seem to work for me via Steam Link, or games like Arkham Shadow which nobody outside of Quest 3 owners can enjoy. It's unfortunate that if you own a VR headset, you can't indulge in all that VR has to offer. These are arguably the two definitive AAA VR experiences and I'd need to buy a separate headset to really enjoy them both. But in the year that I've spent with VR, I have acquired plenty of great games besides Arkham Shadow. Like everybody, I own Beat Saber. This was actually the first game I got for the headset as Batman was part of a bundle. Beat Saber I bought with some store credit, but that's two very different games that showcase two very different branches of VR gaming. The more casual, simplistic, hop in, hop out experience versus the epic, traditional AAA narrative game, but in virtual reality. After that, I decided to maintain this balance by picking up Arizona Sunshine as my next big AAA VR experience and BAM as my casual mixed reality hop in, hop out game. There's not really much to BAM, but it's a fine game, and Arizona Sunshine was an excellent follow-up to Arkham Shadow for me. Once I had played all these games to death and had lost interest in all the free-to-play kid-centric titles on the store, I opted to pick up Underdogs as my next title. The gameplay looked amazing and it kept popping up in YouTube videos recommending VR hidden gems. I bought the game, loved it for a while before realizing it was a roguelike, and then I found myself playing it a lot less. Roguelikes are just not really my thing, and I hate restarting any experience after death with all my stats reset. I took a bit of a break from VR for some large chunks of the year to focus on console and PC gaming, but decided to pick up a couple more games once I got a Metastore voucher from work. I opted for Metal Hellsinger VR and Blade and Sorcery, one game I had always been interested in as a Doom-like rhythm game, but the VR edition, and the other being the definitive Sword of Magic experience for VR, often high on recommendation lists of others. I played a bit of both these games. Metal Hellsinger I actually had a lot of fun with, but I simply couldn't shake the feeling that playing it in VR done nothing to amplify my enjoyment for the game. I started to ponder if I had made a mistake with this purchase. I know many games get lesser VR ports, and Blade and Sorcery I just couldn't get into. The game never clicked for me. From what I've seen, there's still a lot more to this game, but just the initial few hours I've put in haven't been super satisfying. This kind of felt like a free game L streak for me after starting so strong with Batman and Arizona Sunshine, but in truth my enthusiasm for VR kind of wore off. These games were probably never even the problem, I just don't think I was in the right frame of mind to be indulging in VR content. I put down Underdogs, I tried Metal Hellsinger, put down that game and tried Blade and Sorcery before putting down that game also. In the end, I just put down my headset. I left my Meta Quest to collect dust for a long period of time, and during that break I was able to miss it a bit. Eventually, I saw the reveal trailers for Deadpool VR and TMNT Empire City, and I found myself kind of wanting to put the headset back on again. I had my hands full with other games, but the desire was there. I wanted to give those VR games another go, and the news that the developer of Metal Hellsinger closed down was the last push I needed. I charged up the headset and gave it another spin, and whilst I still feel VR isn't the definitive place for this specific title, I had a blast playing it all the same. The The rhythm aspect was starting to click for me, and I'm not historically a rhythm game guy, but I beat the game, rolled credits, and ended up replaying a bunch of levels just because I was having that much fun. Then I looked to underdogs. I was nervous to lose my first run as I had just beaten the first boss on my initial attempt, but I hopped back in, instantly got demolished, started a new run, and found the fun again. I kept dying, but I was just having a good time living out these VR mech battles, and through trial and error, I found my build. 2 flails and a dream, cheesed my way through Act 1 and 2 before defeating the final boss on 1 HP. This is why I hate roguelikes. They're often great games that my fear of losing progress prevents me from getting into. Upon rolling credits though, Underdogs has been phenomenal. As of writing this, I'm on a VR high and I'm itching to get back into Blade and Sorcery and give that game another go also. Because the medium is so distinct and immersive, when I'm not fully energized or enthusiastic about VR, I just can't force myself to play a VR game, as it would do the game a disservice. I realise that now, but part of me wonders what led to my initial VR fatigue. During the time these games weren't clicking, a lot of VR content creators were making videos about the state of the platform and how it's dying or stagnant or regressing. And I consumed a lot of this online fear-mongering, and maybe a part of me let it impact my enthusiasm for VR subconsciously. But is VR actually dying? I don't think so, but it's definitely not moving in the direction I initially anticipated, nor is it moving at the pace I expected. VR is a niche, and I don't think that's changing anytime soon. Both Apple and Sony banked on VR in a way that I think largely backfired. It does seem like the VR space is very much free-to-play kid slop centric, which is fine. I don't have anything against games like Gorilla Tag, but it's those system sellers like Arkham Shadow that will truly see this space thrive, in my opinion. Ultimately, those games are simply not very frequent in the VR space presently. They feel more like events. In the time since Arkham Shadow, there's been a Metro game, which looked good to me, a divisive Alien game which got ported to consoles, also Skydance's Behemoth kinda came and went. I don't think the game had the impact people were expecting. Like I said before, Deadpool VR looks like it might be the next big game, hopefully. But this is a medium still somewhat in its infancy. AAA developers are only recently starting to fully utilize VR, and it will probably be a while before we're at a point where there's genuine competition within the VR gaming space. Is VR the future? To an extent maybe, but it will never replace traditional media consumption. I don't think anyway. But it doesn't need to. All VR needs to do is be VR, and that's enough. This stuff is great, and when it hits, it really hits. Part of what made me so enthusiastic about VR a year ago was that Arkham Shadow felt like I was looking into the future. I could see all that VR could have to offer down the line. Now all I have to do is wait for the inevitable surge of high quality AAA VR titles to come. In the meantime, I'm basically catching up on all the great stuff I missed, and none of it is on par with Arkham Shadow, which is fine because that's what I have to look forward to when it comes to the future of virtual reality gaming. But that's all I have to say about VR 1 year into owning my headset. I don't regret it, and I'm still very much excited for the future of this platform. If you enjoyed this video, you can check out some more and maybe subscribe to help the channel grow. Thank you for watching. See ya.